Hi everyone, Zarina here and welcome to another painty episode. Today I'm working in the sketchbook. It's the one I've been using, and I had these paints I was using for something else and I thought I'd use them here. So I've got titanium white, burnt sienna, ultramarine, cad yellow and permanent rose, and I've kind of been mixing them sort of together just to make different colours like purple or green, mixing that with the sienna to get this kind of lighter sort of tone. So I kind of used those somewhere else and did all that colour mixing, and it's a really nice thing to do, just see what you get. I'm using a variety of brushes, and they're the number 5, the number 12, those are the flat ones, and then I've got this sort of long round, what number is that? Yeah, anyway. And I think the other one is a 12 as well. I can't really tell by the numbers how fat or thin they're going to be, to be honest with you. I've got some water, and I've got a few marks already laid down. I've got an ultramarine background, and I'd actually already layered some charcoal just to, you know, emphasize a horizon or something, and then I put the ultramarine on. So yeah, so that's the background really, and that's, you know, you can make any kind of background. And I'm just going to add different colours. So this is the burnt sienna, and just see where it goes. So it's going to be a bit intuitive, as kind of usual, I suppose, with me. You know, I kind of like that sort of thing and see what I get. I'm going to use different kind of brush strokes and marks, like, you know, rolling the brush like that. And you can get some interesting effects from just the brush, really. I mean, can use other things as well, and I don't know if I'm going to use anything else in this painting, you know, any palette knives or anything else, but we'll see. Sometimes it's a fun thing to do, to use a palette knife to scratch away, etc. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use different brushes for different things. So this is going to be for the sort of white, mixed white, and then these are for other, you know, like this is going to be the yellow for a start. One thing is, I don't really want to wash the brushes out, because what happens then is the paint becomes a little bit too thin and transparent, and the paper becomes a bit wet. And I think when you're working with paper, it starts buckling as well, which isn't very nice. And I think also you kind of lose some of the definition of the brush stroke. So too much water, certainly, I mean, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I feel in this instance, in this painting, that I want it a little bit more, I wouldn't say thicker as such, but I want it to go on more opaque rather than translucent. And I'm going, you know, I'm using different kind of brush marks and brush strokes just to get a nice textured, and I'd call this more, I mean, it's not a background as such, because some of this is going to come through, obviously. Some of this is going to be part of the end painting, but some of this is going to get covered up. So it's just a case of having a bit of fun with the marks, I suppose, which is what we all do, don't we, when we paint? Let's face it, we're painting because it's fun. Using some other little tropes like throwing drops on with a little bit of water. I did put a little bit of water on the brush for that, otherwise they're not going to come off. To see what happens then, you do get some interesting little blobs here and there when you do that. You don't want to, you know, have that as the finished product, maybe. Because a bit. I don't know. I don't know if it looks like anything. I mean, for me, no, but, you know, I mean, it depends what kind of painter you are, what kind of, you know, what kind of aesthetic you like in the end. But yeah, even though I might throw blobs and things on, it doesn't mean they're going to remain. And some of it will remain, yeah, and some of it will get covered up again, like I said. So, yeah, and I brought my palette knife in now. And, yeah, just going to it really with the palette knife, making some marks, pulling the paint around, you know. And this is great for scraping off paint and, you know, revealing areas underneath, etc. So, yeah, so there you go, palette knife. I think the fun thing about a palette knife is you can like, really push into the painting as well if you want to. No, I haven't done that in this instance. I'm kind of liking this brush, which is, you know, a kind of a thinner one really. I mean, usually, I'll be honest with you, when I'm doing larger paintings, the brushes are usually quite thick. I often use household brushes, to be honest. So doing, you know, using small brushes to make smaller, more fussy marks here, it's kind of an interesting experiment to see you know, what sort of things you get. And I think as an abstract painting, I mean, this painting could be done. This could be finished at this point if I wanted it to. I mean, that's the great thing about abstract. You know, you don't have to polish it off if you don't want to. But, you know, add in what you need is what I think. And it kind of depends how you are approaching this, of course, because you can figure it all out beforehand if you want to, and kind of decide, you know, I mean, this paper, for instance, it's not really thick. So, like I said before, having a very waterlogged brush is not a good idea, but popping something behind it to give it a little bit more stability. And also then, you know, your paint doesn't go on the other pages, of course. That's the other thing when you're doing the edges, if you want to go up to the edges. I do like to go up to the edges myself, and yeah, so apologies for my you know, my throat. Still recovering from something or other, but you know, it's Britain and it's the winter, so there we go. Probably not as bad as if you're like in the Arctic though. No, I mean, what would you do then? Just don't know. Yeah, an interesting place to go and paint, I would say. Yeah, and there are painters out there who are out in the Arctic painting. Oh. Yeah, so I'm just like, you know, the initial strokes I put down and the initial lines I made, I'm kind of really just working with those kind of lines and developing them and adding in paint, you know, making them either stronger lines or stronger areas, or, you know, getting rid of them. I mean, there's this blue, I think there's just a bit too much blue showing. I mean, I don't mind a bit of blue, but it seems to be all over the place, so, you know, covering it up here and there, probably a good idea. Well, I think it is. You might have other ideas. Now, you know what, that painting's looking quite good at this point, really, isn't it? But yeah, I'm carrying on. I'm just gonna carry on, see where it goes. You have got the danger, you know, of turning into a bit of a muddy mess. So we'll see how this develops and whether that happens. I mean, I added in some brown or burnt sienna there, which has come out as kind of a brown. And I do like the burnt sienna, but, you know, I think as a brown, I'm not really a big fan of brown, but I was thinking, let's add in a little bit of dark. Let's add some darks in. And when I add dark in, usually I prefer it to be a little bit more of a purpley dark rather than a brown dark. But, you know, the brown is kind of going in. And, I mean, I'm liking it at the moment. I'm not sure how much I'm going to like it later. Yeah, and sometimes brown sets the rest of the painting off anyway, so, you know. And if you think about landscape, there's a lot of brown in the landscape. Maybe that's why I kind of usually shy away from the brown, because I feel, oh, there's already loads out there. Do we really want it on the wall? I don't know, it's one of those really. Kind of depends what you feel works for you. So yeah, so I'm liking that brush actually, but I'm going to you know, mess around now with my palette knife and take some of that paint away, because I feel it's just become a little bit too samey. I'm now revealing the blue again, which I went to lengths to get rid of a minute ago. And this is kind of what happens really when you're painting. One minute you love something, and then the next minute it's like, whoa, get ye from me. Or one minute is get you from me, and then the next minute it's like, hey, come back, where have you gone? So yeah, anyway, I waffle rather. Right, so I want to add in a little bit of light now, and that's where the white is coming in. But I mean, I don't want it to be like white. That's why I'm covering it up a little bit with another colour. So it's a little bit of cad yellow and a little bit of burnt sienna there. And I just want to make it a kind of a goldeny looking colour, perhaps. You know, that's quite nice. Which is still bright, but not white. I think that's what it is. You know, I don't really want that white kind of stark look, really. You know, I think it's all right to have a little bit of white somewhere, but I think, yeah, it depends what the painting is, obviously, and it depends what the painting is doing. I mean, some paintings, yeah, a lot of white is going to work because that's what the painting is, but in my mind, this is more, I'd say it's more of an organic painting, because it's sort of based in landscape. You know, the idea or the memory is based in a landscape or in a sort of a traveling or something like that, and not necessarily through a snow-filled landscape. So the landscape's full of colour, and often you will have the reflections, which are quite white, but often they will still be dampened down somehow. So you might get the, like, you know, the bright sparkle reflection, you know, when you stand on top of like a hill or something, or a, you know, a mountain. Maybe not a mountain, you're probably too far up. So more of a hill really, and you look over and you see some sort of reflection, and it's water somewhere, but it's not huge. It's just it's a small reflection, like a little shard, if you like, of light coming through. And that's, I think, quite nice and quite acceptable. But however, obviously having too much, I think it loses it then. It loses what that's about. And I'm not saying that's what's happening in this landscape at all, necessarily. But, yeah, I mean, and this is sort of an aspect as well. So how it's going to pan out, let's see. At this point, it's not really a vista. It's more like, you know, where you're sort of tramping about, walking, and you know, you're looking through things, you're looking at things and through things, and you don't necessarily see in that second, or in that moment, you don't actually see the larger picture. So I think that's where this painting is going at the moment. And I'm not going to say it's going to stay that way. It may well change, but from this angle, and with the way we have the verticals, and then you've got this, you know, I'm adding in a little bit of sort of, I mean, not hugely darks, but sort of muted tones within as well, just to give it more of a sense of, yeah, you know, sort of integration, if you like, or something like that. Yeah, but you know, when you're painting, you're just painting. And it's nice to actually switch off and, you know, not think about it too much, because I think when you be overly critical of what you're doing, then it becomes a little bit, well, it becomes maybe a bit mannered. It becomes a bit more, okay, so this is this and that is that, and that should be there and that should be there, and you know, and fair and play, you know, sometimes, you know, things need to be in certain places if you want to balance a painting or whatever, or you want the composition to be just right. but I think also the whole point of just painting is for it to, you know, you are kind of the conduit and, you know, rather like a shaman really, you know, it's coming through you. I mean, it's not coming from anywhere else, it's still coming from yourself. I'm not going to say it's coming from anywhere else. Spirit or demon, as it were. No, not at all. I'm just saying that it's coming from yourself, but your hands in a way are the ones kind of like putting it out there. And when you think about it a bit too much, then it might not even be the painting you want it to be. It might actually be something else. So sometimes switching off, and I think a lot of, you know, it's one reason we do painting, in it, so you can just switch off, just paint, and, you know, just have fun with it and relax with it, and then see what you get. And even if you don't get what you think, you know, quote unquote, is a reasonable painting, you shouldn't discard it, because at the end of the day, in history, all those guys who painted, you know, who started painting in a different way and a very individual way, I mean, those are the kind of celebrated painters nowadays, aren't they? I mean, we have, Cy Twombly is one that I like to cite sometimes, you know. Then we've got like Rothko, and we've got Kandinsky and Klee, and all those abstractionists and surrealists as well, who, before they did what they did, it was just a very traditional way of painting what you see, you know. or you added in what the patron wanted. So for instance, if the patron wanted a landscape with a horse in it, he wanted to put his horse in there, then yeah, you'd have a landscape with a horse in it. So, you know, having something Picasso-esque, quite different really. And in Picasso I thought, you know, no one's gonna really want this, I'm not gonna bother painting it, it's not what I know, I'm just gonna paint the landscape with the horse. Then of course you wouldn't have had those paintings to inspire us today. So, you know, everything is kind of valid, and you've got to kind of look at it in that way, that everything is valid even if it doesn't work. And sometimes my paintings don't work. It's because, you know, you're creating something new perhaps, and it just needs to be accepted. So yeah, you should just carry on and just paint what you want to paint. So I've done a few things here. I've added a bit of water on this, and you know, some dribbles, just to see some splats, just to see what will happen. And then I'm going to have a think about it, because I think this way it kind of works in the horizontal. I do like splattering sometimes, that's quite nice. You have to make sure you've got something underneath that's, you know, plastic. Or a basin or so. I usually like to do this in the sink, but for camera purposes I'm just here over the Polly Pocket, and I'm allowing it to run into the Polly Pocket and into a rag. So right, so I'm going to have a think about this, and I'm going to come back probably later on when I've had a look at it and thought about where I want it to go, because I feel it still needs something. I feel it's not quite finished yet. So, I think it's this way around. Yeah, so I kind of went away and had to think about it, and I think this landscape needs a little bit of work, or abstract, whatever it's going to be, needs a bit of work. But I was thinking there's lots of we've got lots of lines going along, so it could really be an abstract landscape. So, you know, and I was thinking, which way up would it work nicely? I mean, this way it kind of works nicely. Obviously I'm going to have to add paint to it, and then also this way up I feel it works as well. So I'm going to go for this orientation, and I'm going to work on it some more. So it's the case with painting, sometimes, you know, you paint them and they just require more work. So some paintings require more work than others, which is totally fine, you know. I've gone ahead and put out some new colours. They're the same colours really, apart from got this extra colour here called Wedgwood, which is quite nice. So just started on that kind of colour. They're all acrylic paints. So I've got the red Wedgwood, Permanent Rose, Cad Yellow, turquoisey blue, and a titanium white. So we can use a little bit of that and sort of define some edges, because it all's kind of merging into each other, isn't it? I'm going to make some, you know, nice edges. So if I look at the painting, I did mix quite a bit of paint previously. This is actually really wet, this brush. I'm using a number 12 here. I've got some other brushes, as you know. But yeah, it's kind of like the second part of what we were doing previously. So I've picked up a little bit of the turquoise, and I picked up, I think it's the phthalo blue turquoise, some white and some permanent rose. I feel I've got too much water on the brush though, so I'm going to dab some of it off, because the thing is, what I don't want it to be saturated really. I kind of want a nice there we go, defined opaque line rather than a translucent line. So I'm going to start with adding in some definition for the sky, and I think so we've got some sort of hill thing going along here, so I'm thinking maybe sort of here, like so. Yeah, and already we can see now that that edge is a little bit more defined, and we kind of know what we're doing with it. And I'm going to blend that in now, because when you leave a painting for any amount of time, any colour you put on it, it's not going to merge with anything you had before, so therefore the balance is slightly off. And I haven't used the Wedgwood before anyway, although this goes really well with this colour scheme anyway. There you go. And I can put more in the sky, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that yellow, and I'm going to just define it a little bit, maybe with a bit of red. That was a little bit, there you go. And you know, you can work with it and play with it. Yeah, I rather like that. Until you're happy with what it is you want, really. I feel the sky's nicer if you sort of cut it up a little bit and put different colours in it rather than having the same colour. So I'm washing out my brush, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to dry it, because I think I've got too much water already. I actually dribbled a bit of water on anyway, because I put these out and then I started doing something else. Right, anyway, there we go. Right, so I'm just adding in a little bit more of the light colour. There it is. Okay, so I think the sky's done now. I'm going to mirror the sky a little bit in the ground. So we've got some areas here that kind of yellowy, ochre. There's cad yellow, so I'm going to define those a little bit so that, you know, that sky is being mirrored here. Now I don't want to take away all the detail, because there's quite a lot of nice detail going on here. But what I do want to do is to make it a little bit less fussy. And some of these areas, for instance, this is quite merging into each other, so I kind of want to define some of those areas. I'm rather liking the fact that this is quite, you know, I might put more white here just to define it a little bit more. But there's something going on here which is quite nice as well. But it's a question of making the right colour to go there, really. There we go. Yeah, so I don't actually want to, like I said, I don't want to kind of ruin it by like just going over everything. So, but you know, some of it could do with a little bit of work. So I do like to have these kind of areas anyway of colour that kind of mingle and merge, and it's a bit like, oh, because you know, when you're out and about, there's so many hidden things that become apparent as you walk along. So like, you know, it's not just a 2D image, it's quite 3D when you're walking, of course. And that's what you're trying to, I suppose in a way, that's what you're trying to translate somewhat. Not just that flat image, but there's more going on with it rather than it's just flat. So I'm kind of liking the idea of putting in, yeah, sort of a block there. That's quite nice. Right, and then I'm going to take this block over here as well to just sort of balance it out a little bit. It doesn't have to be exactly the same colour either. I could sort of mix it and make it into a slightly different colour if I wanted to. But maybe over here. I kind of like this messiness that's going on here, and I don't really want to get rid of it. I mean, might have to, but I don't really want to. So let's see if we can keep it. I think what I'm not happy about with this painting, and why I kind of was a bit like, was all the brown. I'm not really a huge fan of brown, even though I know, yeah, in the landscape there's loads of brown. I like to get rid of the browns normally. Yeah, I'm just, there it is. Yeah, putting in some nice colour. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Right, now I'm thinking this is a little bit overly brown. So maybe we can add in some pink, some blue and some yellow maybe. No, that's making it brown now again. That's too brown. No, we need to pink it up a little bit more. Ah, there we go. Oh yeah, that's nice. So yes, I've added in that. That's yeah, I'm happy with that. And maybe over here a little bit of pink on this brown as well, just so it's not so brown. You know, it's more pinky than brown. Yeah. And you do get kind of you know, you get rocks and things and stuff that's, you know, more brown than, sorry, more pink than brown sometimes, just because of the way the light hits it, or it's got rust in it, you know, something like that really. I did like that pink there, but I don't know, I'm kind of liking that orange going in there too. Now these bright areas I want to keep really, and I like this bit of blue going on here. I want to do something with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mirror that bit of yellow over here. There it is. And here I wanted to put that blue, so I'm just going to wash out my brush. I'm really just using this number 12 today. I'm not even really managing to use anything else, and you can use different brushes. You don't have to use, you know, the same one or anything. And I'm just going to take that blue down there, sort of alluding to something or other. There it is. Yeah. Add some over here. Okay, so that's made it a little bit more landscape looking. I mean, this bit definitely looks very typical, doesn't it? That bit does. And then we've got some interesting stuff going on here. Now I'm wondering if this hillock is just a bit too, I mean, I like the fact that it's brown, yeah, definitely, but is it sort of cutting, I mean, because look, it's going, that brown is sort of going all the way across, it's kind of cutting it in half. It'll be nice to actually just have a cutoff point for the brown maybe here, and actually put something else here. So let's have a think. What can we put? We've already got some yellow. We don't want to throw it off balance too much. The blue's nice there, but I think too much blue is going to be overpowering. Actually, a bit of pink might be nice just there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a little bit of pink, like so. It looks a bit grey, doesn't it? It's all right. Yeah, I just wanted to cut it in half really, that whole, what's going on really. Kind of want to keep that blue there. Yeah, because I just felt there's too much brown. Yeah, that's quite nice. So I'm just going to get a bit more of that pink, sort of turn into sort of a purpley colour. Got a little bit of blue on that. It's quite nice, giving some sort of bit of kind of a definition of some sort, of something. Don't know what, mind you, at this point, but anything landscaping. I mean, you could splodge a little bit if you want, or, you know, allude to some plant life or whatever. But yeah, so I like this that's going on here, but yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut that off there like that, I think. Yeah, that's better. And I'm just going to take some water off my brush and dry my brush a bit. Oh yeah. Get some more of this Wedgwood. Such a nice colour, isn't it? Let me put some blocks in. And that's the thing with colour, you can put it in as blocky as you want really. There we go. Now the colours are rather similar, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit more of that pink and really just, you know, go for it, I suppose. Plus I want a different orientation. So this is sort of this way. I'm thinking this could be kind of that way, yeah, like that. Some kind of bank or something, you know. No, that's making it brown. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't make it brown. And the thing is, right, you could tweak this, you know, as long as you want, really. Tweak and tweak and tweak again. But, you know, ultimately you have to, at some point, say, okay, it's done. And I think I'm getting to that point now. Yeah. It's quite nice. We've got kind of two kind of things going. So we've got this landscape in the back that's very kind of traditional, and then we've got a lot of like other kind of colors here. So should we add in some green to balance it out a little bit? We've got a little bit of green down here. Oops. And I'm just going to pop some here. There we go. And then pop a bit here as well. There, that's nice. And then maybe put a little bit of an overt green here. You know, sort of nice pop of green. I think sometimes if you have just a bit, you know, if the brush strokes are a little bit too weak, then it's a little bit boring looking. Having sort of slightly bolder ones. Oh, putting some. Always makes things interesting, I feel. Okay. Right, yeah. Now I'm going to put a little bit more colour in the sky, a bit more brightness actually, because I just think it's just a little bit too. Now it doesn't all have to be bright, but I think that line there, you know, this line, that could be brighter, couldn't it? I'm just going to wipe my brush a bit and sort of merge that in. This merging thing works better if you've got oil paints, I think. But, you know, you can blend with acrylic somewhat. Yeah. There you go. That's made it a bit more interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe that's a bit too dark on that side. Lighten it up a bit. Right, and then we can put a real pop of light here somewhere. Yeah, allude to some sort of, just dry it off a bit. Sun coming through, or something like that, you know, or sun rising or setting, or I don't know. It doesn't even have to be a sunrise or a sunset. Sometimes the sun is just, or something, some light is just over that edge. Yeah. Okay, that's nice. Now, I do want to put a little bit of that sky down here somewhere. Just so I've got it in the ground as well. I'm going to put it here. And I'm just going to skim across this area as if it's like some sort of watery area perhaps, you know. There. Oh, maybe that's a bit too much now. Right, let's get rid of some of it here. I think it's a bit too much here now. Oops, daisy. Got a bit too much here now. Yeah, that's it. That's better. Right. Okay, I'm calling that one, I think. She says she adds more stuff. That's the thing. You can just like be here. You can be here forever. Tweaking. Yeah. But I think we're going to call that one. And I hope you enjoyed the process. And have fun painting. Signing off for now.